Hey everybody, it's Maddie.
And it's Ade.
And
we're
we're
the
the
Bookends.
Bookends. This month, well, last month was
Last
May,
2 months.
and
Well, June. So, last 3 months.
so a few months ago, in May, we read James and the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. We were originally just going to do James,
Mm-hmm.
but we decided that it might be fun to do like a little comparison of the two. I think the only flaw with this plan is that we've only read one of the books, each of
Yeah.
us, so we can't really like fully compare, but we're gonna do our best.
Yes.
So, should we start with a summary of our book that we read?
Yes, you can go first.
Okay, so this is for James by Percival Everett. James is a reimagining of Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. It's told from the perspective of Jim, the enslaved man who seeks freedom. In this novel, Jim escapes from his owner, Miss Watson, after learning she plans to sell him, which would tear him away from his family. As he flees, he encounters Huck Finn, and the two embark on a journey down the Mississippi River. Along the way, Jim confronts the brutal realities of racism, betrayal, and the constant fear of being captured. The novel explores themes of freedom, identity, and the resilience of the human spirit, offering a poignant and complex portrayal of Jim's quest for dignity and humanity.
Okay. I read Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. So, the summary that I have is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain follows the journey of a young boy trying to acquire independence who escapes his abusive father and embarks on many adventures on a raft down the Mississippi River with a runaway slave named Jim. Throughout the story, Huck is forced to confront the fall of Southern society, especially in regarding slavery and racism, and is forced to question his own prejudices. This novel explores themes of hypocrisy in society, friendships, freedom, and the journey of moral development.
Yeah, great books. Well, mine was great. I don't know. We'll get to our review and rating later.
Yeah.
You'll kind of see where we stand.
Hmm.
But should we do discussion questions? Addie wrote our discussion questions for this week or this month and also for next month.
First discussion question. How do Huck's desires for freedom in Huckleberry Finn compare to Jim's motivation in James?
Hmm. I think, yeah, that's a good question. So in James, Jim's motivation, he leaves. Obviously, he wants to become free. But after he does that, his main motivation is to get back to his family, to get them free as well. So first, he has to get himself free, which is what most of the journey is. And then another part of his journey is him coming back and trying to get his family back. And so his motivation, I think, is not just for his own freedom, but for his family's as well. And I think it's a different kind of freedom that he's wanting,
Hmm.
um, because he was a slave. Like he has so much motivation to want to leave that, obviously. And yeah, so I think that's what I would say is Jim's.
Yeah. I would say that Huck's he pretty much just he hates being controlled, and so he was with Miss Watson and the widower or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but they were just they wanted to put him in school and everything and make him like a good upstanding civilian, and he pretty much just didn't want that. He just wanted people to leave him alone pretty much.
Real.
And then when his dad did, spoiler alert, when his dad kidnapped him pretty much, and then his dad abused him and stuff. So he just wanted to get out of that bad situation,
Right.
which obviously doesn't compare to slavery or whatever.
No, but it's still
But
bad.
yeah, there's still some similarities, I feel
Yeah.
like a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
I think, yeah, they both have a desire to be free of the abuse that they suffered.
mhm.
So I think that's how they've connected. And it's interesting because in the book, in my book a lot, you get to see Jim talk to Huck because Jim puts on an accent that makes him sound like a slave. He's actually a very smart person. He knows how to read, he knows how to write, he teaches other slaves. And so eventually he starts like tearing down his walls and starts talking normally. And Finn or Huck Finn is like, "Who are you?" And I think it's just interesting to see like, even though they've spent so much time together and they've grown together through that, there's still so much they don't know about each other.
Mhm.
And I think it's interesting how people can bond over one small thing and not ever realize the depths and the span of their entire friend's life.
Yeah. That's
I don't
so
know.
that's so interesting because the way that like Jim was portrayed, which I think we talk about this later on with discussion questions or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but the way that Jim was portrayed, it was like you could clearly tell that there was like a difference between who was smarter and who wasn't.
Yeah.
Like it was heavily implied. Yes, it's like yes, like the book is like ahead of its time and like that being like as it is, like the topic or whatever, but you could clearly tell that it was like insinuated that like Huck was, even though he's not like he never went to school or anything, he's smarter than Jim because he's white. It was
Yeah.
just like that was just kind of like
And I think that's something that I like about James is that it very much breaks that.
mhm.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Discussion question number 2. How does the use of the N word in both novels affect the reading experience and the reader's interpretation of the characters and events?
Hmm. This is interesting. I think when Jim uses it, he almost uses it mockingly towards people that call him that. I don't think he thinks. I don't know. That's interesting because the way he perceives himself as a man, like any other man,
Mhm.
and he thinks it's so almost like ridiculous and funny that people think that that word can tear him down. Hey, it's Maddie. I'm going to rant for a bit because I want to take those words back and rephrase what I actually think after re remembering some stuff. I think actually Jim is very aware of the weight and the violence behind the N word. And in his story, he doesn't accept the slur as something normal. He sees it as dehumanizing. And he knows it's not just a word, but it's a way of oppressing him. And it's supposed to strip him of his dignity and identity. And throughout the book, he really thinks about how white people use the N word to reinforce their power and to reduce him to a stereotype and not a man or a father or a person with thoughts and intelligence, but as an object. And the word is especially painful because it doesn't just reflect the cruelty of individuals, it reflects an entire system that's meant to keep people like him in a position below them. And one of the powerful things I think the author does is that James resists that label. He is smart and articulate and self aware and a whole human being, and he rejects that, and that refusal to be defined by it is part of what gives the book its depth and its force. He's not just surviving racism, he's intellectually resisting it. And I'm sorry if you heard fireworks, it is the 4th of July. Anyways, that's my rant and retake on all of this.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, sorry. This does not like pertain to the discussion question, but I was just thinking about it. What is like why is the title James like instead of Jim?
Um,
Like is that his full name?
yeah, well, at the end of the book, when he gets freed, I think they ask him for his name. And he's been called Jim, I think, a lot. But I think, I'm not quite sure how it comes up. But I know at the end he names himself, and he names himself James
Okay.
instead of Jim.
Interesting. Okay, I like that. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. That's why I was asking. Okay, back to the discussion question. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Uh basically like in Huckleberry Finn, like it kind of was just like thrown around a lot. Like
Yeah.
everyone used it, including Jim. So like and no one seemed to ever think it was an issue.
Yeah.
They just like everyone used it. It was just like
Normal.
a normal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the way, I think now, especially reading Huck Finn, which is such an old book, it's very interesting to see how the world's shifted based around just slurs in general, but also like especially that one
Mm-hmm.
about like when you hear somebody say it, especially if a white person says it, it is incredibly jarring.
Yeah.
It's insane. And it's so interesting to see that then no one would bat an eye.
Yeah. It was just like I don't know. I couldn't get used to seeing like
I
reading it
know.
so often, cuz
Yeah.
like it was like pretty much in every sentence that involved Jim, or like literally like anyone.
Yeah, and I would say the white people in
Yeah.
James a lot. It did still happen in that book a lot. It's just interesting to see the way that it's used so casually.
Like I don't know. It was just like I said, I couldn't get used to just reading it like
All the
every
time.
sentence. It was just like just something to be like, "Oh, that's like, whoa." Yeah. Okay. The third discussion question.
Kind of talked about this a little bit.
Yes. In what way does James challenge slash complicate the portrayal of Jim in Huckleberry Finn?
Yeah, I think that obviously, since the book is from his perspective, his character is more in depth
Mm-hmm.
and more fully fleshed out. Because, like I said, you learn that he's incredibly smart. He puts up an act and speaks in a certain way that makes him seem not as smart, but he is smart. He teaches others. He knows how to write, and we'll get to that. My favorite quote feature, and I think also just seeing like it's so interesting because when we think about history in general and we think about like slaves, we think of them as a whole. I think we think of it as a time in our country's history, bad time,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't think about the individuals.
Yeah. Like their
They
own
were all
stories.
real
Mm-hmm.
people and they all have their own story. And I think just reading this book, reading James from the perspective of an enslaved man who freed himself, just reading through it and realizing the complexities of his life and his thoughts and his feelings makes it so much more real.
Mm-hmm.
That they were the kind of people, he was the kind of person that was being oppressed.
Yeah.
These incredibly bright and talented and smart people. I just think it's so interesting to think like there were so many of them that could have been just like Jim.
Mm-hmm.
And they were treated just awfully.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very a perspective shift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Discussion question number 4. How does the historical time frame of each novel affect the characters' experiences or troubles?
And it says Huck Finn was like pre Civil War and James was closer to the start of Civil War.
I didn't know if there was like that, if there was going to be that big of a difference, but I figured
Yeah,
it'd
I
be
don't
important to
know.
talk about.
I think just talking to you too when we were both reading the books, I think it is slightly the timelines are slightly off. I feel like
Yeah.
um because my book starts basically when like it's almost at the very beginning when spoiler alert Huck Finn's dad dies.
hmm
Like that's almost at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much build up there's in your book for that before like Huck leaves and all that. I don't know how much.
I mean, it was like Miss Watson and the widower sent him to school and he didn't like it and he went for like a month. And then his dad like kidnapped him and everything and he was at the cabin for like I think a while, like 3 months I want to say.
Okay.
And then he did his whole like disappearing act and like pretended he got killed or
Right,
whatever.
with the pig's blood.
Yeah, and then he like left.
Okay. Yeah, mine basically starts with his whole disappearing act. So
Okay.
there is a bit of a shift. And I think yeah, I don't know. But also at the end, since James was closer to the Civil War, the end, which is my totally tab-worthy moment, look at there. It is such a like reclaiming of power, and I think that since the Civil War is about to start, that might have had something to do with that because they were
Mhm.
about to have the fight for their freedom.
Okay.
So I think that is one way that it
Yeah.
affected their experience.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. I guess I kind of forgot this book because thinking back on it, I think James is more aware of the brutality and contradictions of slavery. In the Civil War, he sees it for what it is. It's not just a noble fight, but it's rooted in power and economics and politics. He expresses some like skepticism about like white saviors or the idea that white people are freeing the enslaved people. And he recognizes that war isn't immediately liberating and that enslaved people like him will still face constant danger and they have to free themselves. and he's very aware of the hypocrisy of a country that talks about liberty when they're enslaving millions. And he, yeah, I think he understands that. And then at the end, he claims his own freedom. Unlike in Huckleberry Finn, he doesn't get freed by outside forces, but he plans his own escape with strategy and intelligence, and he doesn't wait to be freed. He takes it into his own hands. And I think that emphasizes his determination, not just about like surviving a war, but navigating it and growing through it. So it's not just a heroic backdrop, the Civil War, but it's chaotic and violent and complex. And James knows he has to carve his own path. And that's kind of what I think about that, looking back. Maybe I should have just reread the book. I read it so long ago.
I would just say that like Huckleberry Finn, it was like I don't know, it was just pretty like not casual, but there wasn't any like anxiety for the
For the
future
future,
like
right?
that. You know what I mean? Like there's a war coming up, you know?
Yeah, and there was some talk in James, I think, about it, but I don't remember. Like, it wasn't a very big plot point
Yeah.
at all. Yeah.
Okay. Number 5.
Mm.
Should one book be read before the other, and if so, why?
Oh, this is interesting. I think you could read them either way.
I think you could too.
Because I think if you read James first and then read Huck Finn, you would read Huck Finn with the knowledge that James isn't quite who you think he is. But then again, if you read Huck Finn first and then read James, it's almost eye opening.
Mhm.
So I think either way you read it would be good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think personally I would want to read it James first just to get that idea of him that he's like more of a complex character than just like this side character, you know what I mean?
Right.
So then like I don't know, just be different in how I would have read Huckleberry Finn, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, the last discussion question. Can James be considered a classic in its own right, or is it primarily a response to The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn?
This is interesting. I think it could be considered a modern classic, but I don't think it could be if Huck Finn didn't exist. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, I feel like it's like Huck Finn walked so James could run.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
like,
a good way to put it. I like that.
like I think the fact that Huck Finn was written is the inspiration behind James, and I think that's the reason it was written. And
Mhm.
it is a response to Huck Finn.
Yeah.
It's so polarizing. And so I think that yeah, I think it is important. Both of the books are important, but I think it can stand alone by itself and be its own thing. But I also agree with the fact that it couldn't have even been a thing
Yeah.
without Huck Finn.
Mhm. Yeah. That's basically what my thoughts were.
Yes, we're on the same wavelength.
Yes.
Okay, you can share your totally
Totally
tab-worthy
tab-worthy
moment.
moment. Okay. My totally tab-worthy moment was actually at the very beginning of the book when Huck Finn was trying to like escape from being locked in his father's like secluded cabin in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
After he was like kidnapped. Um for context, basically Huck was like kind of fine with being kidnapped until his dad started like beating him a lot. And then he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is stupid.
Understandable.
So, yeah. Anyway, and then I thought that this scene really showed how like intelligent and logical that Huckleberry Finn like was.
Hmm.
And I think you could see it develop throughout the whole book. Like I feel like that's the point of the book is you see Huck develop his like moral like reasoning. And so that's why he like helps Jim like stay free and like escape from when he gets captured back in the South again. So I don't know. I just thought that this showed how like intelligent Huck was without like he like went to school, but he was like deemed stupid pretty much. And so I think that even though like he didn't go to school and stuff like that, like he was still able to be like a good person and he still did good things, you know?
Right.
And he still like had that like had that developed the like skills to help someone in need like Jim. So, yeah, that's why I liked that part.
Love it. Okay. Okay. In James, my favorite scene was actually the end scene, which is funny because it was just the beginning. Um, Basically, this is when he finally gets control back. And I don't know how different the endings are in Huck Finn and James. I don't know how they're both portrayed, but basically, James goes back to his plantation, and I think he is recaptured. But then um, he catches someone, I think, trying to rape another enslaved person, and I don't know if it's one of his family members or if it's just a friend that he made. But basically, like knocks him out and kills him, and then takes his gun and goes and kills like the plantation like owner and stuff. And it's just so interesting to see like, and he says, I know it's not the gun that is scaring him. It's my intelligence. It's my words that I'm saying to him because he really does scare him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sets the plantation on fire, just subtly, of course. But the writing in that moment, it just was so intense and vivid. Like I was there. And it wasn't about like destroying the plantation, although that was a part of it, but it was also about reclaiming something that was taken from him, his power. And it was very heartbreaking, but also beautiful. I just really loved it.
Sounds like a really good scene.
It was great. It was like not even a scene, it was like the last couple chapters, I guess. Like or like last chapter in the epilogue. I don't really know how to describe it. I don't even know if there was an epilogue, but it was the last chunk.
That'd be a great way to end it.
I know.
Just like, justice served type.
Yeah.
Okay, now moving on to our favorite quote features. We both have two, so this will be fun.
Mine are so long.
That's okay. Okay. My first one is right is right and wrong is wrong. And a body ain't got no business doing wrong when he ain't ignorant and knows better. And that is Huckleberry Finn saying that. And I just thought that was just a great way to like sum up the book in the way that Huck grew in
Yeah.
his moral like judgment.
Yeah.
So,
I like it.
yeah. And then my second one, this will have some explaining with it, and it is all right, then I'll go to hell and tore it up. And that was also Huck Finn. But basically, he was with Jim and he was planning on writing a letter to Miss Watson telling her that, like, how Jim escaped and that, like, where he's at and with him because he was struggling, like, deciding whether he was a good person pretty much. And so he was like, well, Miss Watson always told me that, like, if I pray and, like, think about it, then I'll come to the right decision. And so he wrote out this letter and then he prayed, like, and he's not used to doing that.
Right.
So he just, like, prayed as hard, like, as he could for what he knew of it. And then he was like, he came to the decision that, like, he couldn't do that to his friend. Like, Jim is his friend. He can't, like, do that.
Yeah.
So then he was like, all right then, like, I'll go to hell. And then he like tore it up because he was always told that, like, if you don't do the right thing, which would have been to turn Jim in, he like you'd go to hell for it.
Right.
And so he's like, fine, I don't care anymore. And then he
tore
like,
the letter up.
yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. My favorite quote features. So the first one is all of this. The whole book is through James's lens. So there is dialogue from other people, but the whole narration is his. So these I think are like narration bits, not necessarily dialogue. But it says, "But my interest is in how these marks that I am scratching on this page can mean anything at all. If they can have meaning, then life can have meaning. Then I can have meaning." And I like that because throughout the whole thing, he has a pencil and paper and he's like writing his whole like journey, his whole story. And then the next one is, at that moment, the power of reading made itself clear and real to me. If I could see the words, then no one could control them or what I got from them. They couldn't even know if I was merely seeing them or reading them, sounding them out or comprehending them. It was a completely private affair and completely free and therefore completely subversive.
I like those.
Yes. Okay, we do have follower questions.
Yes.
Hooray! Thanks. Shout out to my dad and my mom and my sister for giving us some questions, and then also a few other followers and friends
Mm-hmm.
gave some. So let's go back and forth. You can do the first one.
Okay, so from Adam Brown,
My
he
dad.
asked, of the books that you have read, who is your favorite character? I'm assuming of James and...
No, I don't know, but I want to pick one from like all the books we've read
Oh, like in the
of the
history? Okay,
podcast.
okay.
Like of our podcast. I'm trying to remember all the ones that we've read.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at the document really quick.
Okay, my favorite, as like a little like romantic, I loved Neil from Today Tonight Tomorrow, which we will make a post since we didn't get to upload that video.
Yes,
We'll get it out there. He's just a sweetheart.
he is.
I like him.
Rowan
Is okay.
She's all right, but
the thing
Neil
is-
is better in
But
my
the
opinion.
thing is, like Neil like deals with her, and that's cute.
Yeah, you can't have one without the other. But
Right,
Rowan made
right.
me frustrated sometimes.
Yes. Anyway, okay, who's yours?
I would probably say, I don't know, any of the Bennets from Pride and Prejudice.
I like the dad.
Yes, he's so funny. He just doesn't care. He does not give two farts.
No.
He like he does not care
No.
whatsoever. And their mom is like, they're also funny.
They're iconic.
Yeah.
If you haven't read Pride and Prejudice, I recommend. Or if you're not a big reader or you don't like classics, at least watch the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
It is
Okay.
good.
The next one is also from my dad, Adam. He said, "What made you two want to pursue doing a podcast?" This is fun.
It was pretty much Maddie's idea.
Well, yes, but also shout out to Miss Campman.
That's, yes. I forgot
Because
about that. English.
in English, we
Yes,
had an
yes.
assignment for
It was our last project, our final project.
our final project, and we did a podcast.
You had to
for
do
it.
like a mini podcast on the book that we read.
We read This Is My America and then watched the movie Just Mercy,
Mhm.
and we had to like compare them.
Yeah.
And so we were supposed to do a podcast, and our time limit was 10 minutes max. Like nobody
Yeah.
was gonna go past 10 minutes. Except for that it cut us off and we weren't done talking. And I was like, we could literally have a book podcast. Like we could just sit here and yap about books forever. And we did redo it and like shorten our time.
Yeah.
But
don't worry, we got an A on that
we
project.
did get an A on the project. But that was like how it started. And so then I was like, that was during
First
semester.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, let's plan it out now, and then we can do it starting next year in January.
Yeah.
And so we did.
Yeah.
And we picked out our books and decided what kind of things we wanted to do. Like when we recorded our first podcast, we kind of went through was it our first podcast or was it our intro episode? I don't remember.
I think it was the intro episode.
The intro. We kind of went through all
the books that we wanted to read.
And like the different things, like the tab-worthy moments and favorite quote feature, like those kind of things we figured out.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And then
thank goodness for our study halls. Those were fun.
We got to chat a bit in between recording.
Yes. But yeah, we basically started it because we wanted to yap about books.
Yeah.
Okay. Another follower question from Lydia,
my sister.
Favorite and least favorite book you've read and why?
Okay, well, I know my favorite book.
Yeah, I know my favorite. I don't know my least favorite.
Oh, I can think of a couple for me. I looked back at one of these books that I rated, and I rated it like 3 stars, and I go, that was extremely generous for that book. I need to change it to like 2 or 1 because it was very bad. Anyways, my favorite book is Little Women of all time. I've never, like, nothing's ever topped it for me. I need to reread it because I loved it. But I read it in 7th grade, and it was like, it's this big. I have my copy up there. It's gigantic. I
did read it.
I know you read it. Did you use mine or did you use
I used yours?
Okay,
and
I couldn't
yours
remember.
It's thick, but it's pretty.
It's huge, but it's very pretty.
Yes.
And I just love Little Women. It's so, I just like, it encapsulates like sisterhood and girlhood in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very unique thing to try to write about. And I think that she did it very well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also like a classic, which I love, a classic. My least favorite book? Hold on, these are all the books I'm going to donate. Not these. Just these down here.
Oh, okay.
I ran out of room on my bookshelf.
Oh.
Well, I hated this book. This is one I gave 3 stars and I don't know why. It's called The Banks Sisters. I'm very sorry, Nikki. I didn't really like it. I also Are
I
you
thought
okay
my
with it?
computer was gonna fall.
I also did not like the book Stars in Us. If you go to my book Instagram, you can see my review of it. I didn't like it at all. I didn't. I bad book. Bad book. Not for me. I don't know who it's for, but it wasn't for me, and I didn't like it.
My favorite book is definitely All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Dower.
Which we are covering that book soon.
Yes, in November, I believe.
So like not soon.
But
Like in 5 months.
soon, yeah. And it's just so good. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I don't know why, but I just love that book so much. And every time I read it, I find something new that I like. It makes me love it more.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
What about your least favorite? Least favorite.
So, I don't know. Probably the Maximum Ride series. Did you ever read those?
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so it's like sci-fi and like
I think I'm sensing a theme here with
it's
us.
not okay, but it's not sci-fi. It's not bad. Like the writing, I don't think it was bad. I also read it when I was like a preteen. So
Okay.
I probably won't go back and reread it.
No.
Anyway, imagine these group of teenage kids that are like orphans pretty much. They like
Trailer Park. Wait, what is it called? The not Trailer Park Brothers. That's what is the Boxcar Children?
oh. So it's not quite like that because all the kids in this story have like powers and they can like turn into
Magic
animals.
Treehouse. Oh.
Yeah. And like I think animal like birds.
What?
Anyway, I read the entirety of this series. I was obsessed with it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I don't know why I was obsessed with it.
Oh
I have the
god.
entire series still on my bookshelf, and it's just
Sorry for pardon my reach.
no, you're good. But it's just like the concept is weird. I don't know. It's not badly written. I don't think. I mean, it's probably not the best I've read,
Right.
but like, I don't know why I loved that so much when I was younger. Like,
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, our last one is also from my dad. Shout out Adam. He said, "Have you noticed any trends in the authors you enjoy? Like, is there something similar about all the different authors you like to read, or maybe all the books you enjoy reading?" I'll say that in the authors I like reading, I love Abby Jimenez. This is like for more contemporary books, I suppose. I like Abby Jimenez. I like Elle Kennedy. B.K. Borison is also good. Um, and then for more like YA, I love K.L. Walther. She's my favorite like YA romance author. I love a funny author. I want the book to be enjoyable. Like I like laughing out loud while I read a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I also just enjoy something that feels realistic and not something that feels so like that could never happen, especially with like romance.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times people will read like romance books and I'm just like I mean you do you, but I just don't know how you can enjoy a book that is just not at all realistic.
Yeah.
Like yeah, so I love that. I love a funny author. I also don't like in authors, I don't like a mention of TikTok, Snapchat, COVID.
Okay.
Get it
Yeah.
out of the books.
Like current things that we
Instagram.
live.
Instagram for me is okay. Here's the
It
thing.
depends on how like
How they
involved
write
it.
it.
If they just mention it, okay, I'll let it slide. But like if that's the whole point, like if someone
Right.
if it's like someones getting like bullied and it's all on Instagram, like make up a fake website.
Right. Do something else. Like I'm fine with like
yeah.
I went and tried to stalk his Instagram. Like that's fine. I get it. Because that is in like a couple Abby Jimenez books. I'm fine with that. But I don't like a random mention of the pandemic, especially. I try to read books to forget about my problems. I don't want to go start reading about the worst year ever. Like what? So it's so interesting to me. Yeah, I think that I just love a funny author and I like a realistic writing style.
Yeah. I think I can agree with both like the 7th time that's happened.
Just needs to stay plugged in.
Okay. I think I can agree with both of those statements. Like, they have to be funny and then, like, realistic. I don't have consistent authors that I read, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I love Emily Henry romance
Yes,
books.
I do like
Those
her.
are
She's the
good.
one that wrote like the Book Lovers and People We Meet on
Mhm.
Vacation. Okay.
Yes, I love those books.
I have them on my
Otherwise,
dad's
I
shelf.
just don't feel like I read authors consistently like that, or I just don't notice it. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't really have a favorite or least favorite, I
I get
guess.
that.
Yeah.
Now should we do our review and rating? I didn't write
Yes.
any review. I just put my rating, but this will be on the fly for me. Addie, you get to go first.
Okay. So um I rated this a 2.75 to a 3 out of 5 stars. It changes every time I look at it or think about it. So I said, like, don't get me wrong, I thought it was a very important read. Like, it's very important for, like, when it was produced, like, published and everything, like, the timeline that it was. And I'm glad I read it, but I thought it was, like, really slow and a bit repetitive, especially in their, like, adventures on the river and on the raft. They just felt like they blended together. Like,
Gotcha.
there wasn't, like, there were some things that, like, pop up here and there, but there wasn't really anything, like,
Unique about each thing.
yeah, like, there is, but, like, not enough that I remember it.
Right.
And I mean, this was just me. Like, yes, there is a big climax at the end, but it didn't feel like there was. Like, I think in just, like, his writing style, it's just like if the plot line, like, you know, like, a plot line is like this, it just stayed like this the entire book. Like, there was no ginormous hill
It
and
wasn't.
it didn't come back down. And so that's why I felt like at the end with the, like, big thing that happened at the end, there wasn't, it just, like, it was like, oh, okay, cool.
There wasn't build up to it.
Yeah. And so,
That's important.
yeah.
You learn about this literally in elementary school, right? Which, well, this was written a long time ago, so maybe they didn't quite learn about that stuff. They might be more focused on learning how to, like, write in general.
Yeah.
On their little slates in their one-room schoolhouses.
Very true. So, I mean, I wouldn't pick up this book for fun again.
Right.
But if I was like, I had to read it for school, I wouldn't be mad.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Okay. I gave James, this is very different. I gave it a 5 out of 5. Go get it. Go read.
So
Go
good.
see if your library has it. Libraries are free books. Do you ever think about that? Like, you don't have to pay for them.
Yeah, I know.
So crazy. Me with my, like, bajillion books. Anyways, I think it's so, not only is it an important read, but it's also, like, a fun read. Like, it's very interesting, and I kept wanting to read it. Like, I wanted to get through all of it because I really liked it. And yes, I definitely recommend that you read this, even if you don't read Huck Finn. My Aunt Erica put this as, like, her top book for 2024. And so that's kind of why I was, like, wanting to read it, because I thought, well, this sounds good. And I asked her, I said, do I need to read Huck Finn if I want to understand? She goes, I don't even remember if I've read Huck Finn, and I loved that book, so I don't think it's necessary, which I agree with, because I did not read Huck Finn. I barely had any context of all the characters or plot or anything of it, and I loved that book. I really enjoyed it, so I recommend.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I think that will be it for us. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yes.
We're back. We're here.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing it. Recording another episode after this.
Yes.
Woo! Okay.
Woo!
Woot woot. Oh, and next month, or in the next 10 minutes, our episode is on Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yes.
So, we reread this book.
It's so good.
I love this book, but we'll get there.
So good.
We'll get to it next
Yes.
episode. So, if you want to see us chat about that book, you can check out our next episode, which should be out at the same time or around the same time as this one. We'll see when I decide to post them. Thanks again for listening.
Yes, thank you. We very much appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
This novel explores themes of hip
Hypocrisy?
yeah hip hip oh my
You got it.
hip how do you say it?
Hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy in society. What?
Ooh. But
Okay.
I'm remembering it right. Again, it's been like 2 months since I've read this book, but I was still in school. Weird. Anyways.
That's so right. That was so long ago.
I know. So I feel like I just sounded very like a Utahn. I felt like I feel like yeah, it's just interesting.